Hi guys, back again for another video. So I hope you can see my screen pretty good. Today we're going to be analyzing percents. And what I'm talking about is whenever you see a problem that has anything, any type of question that says, let's say, 25 is what percent of 150. Okay, so today we're going to address these types of questions. And then also another question can be, what is 45% of 200? And we can also say 40 is 75% of what number? So these are all different questions. Notice here that the unknown is present in different parts of the sentence in the question. So this is important for us to know. In all my classes, I always tell my students to annotate. So I will go ahead and tackle these 3 questions, and we're going to annotate, and then we're going to also solve each. So we're going to start with the first one, which is 25 is what percent of 150. But before I do that, I'm going to give you the format for analyzing percents in any given situation. So the formula for that is part over whole equals percent over 100. So this formula right here will give you the answer. There's no need to transfer the percent to a decimal or back to a percent, because the fact that I'm already writing the percent over 100, it will be already given to you in percentage form. So again, remember this formula, part over whole equals percent over 100. And let's get started. So the first one we're going to start with is 25 is what percent of 150. So I'm going to go ahead and write it out. I did get some thicker markers just because I know that the graph paper sometimes eats up my ink. So here we go. First question is 25 is what percent of 150? Cool. Oh, that's so much nicer. So we're going to go ahead and first annotate this question. So remember that the formula is always part over whole. Let me get a better marker. That one's, here we go. I'll write it over. Part over whole equals percent over 100. So looking at this question here, we got to see, what does the 25 represent? What does this represent? And what does this represent? So 25 is what percent of 150? So definitely the 25 is the part. What percent is our unknown? So X is going to be in terms of the percent, because our unknown will be the variable X. And 150 is the whole, because that's like 25 of 150. So now, I hope you guessed it, the next thing we're going to do is just plug in those values into our little formula. So the 25 is the part, so instead of writing part, I write the 25. The whole is the 150. Percent, I don't know, and I have 100 here. So this is now my equation. Whenever I have a fraction equals a fraction, I am able to cross multiply. So whenever I have this like this, a fraction equals a fraction, I am able to then cross multiply, and this will become AD equals BC. So notice that I multiplied the numerator of the left to the denominator of the right, and vice versa, also the denominator of the left to the numerator on the right. So this is going to give me this, and then from here I'm able to solve. So just like we did there, I'm going to go ahead and cross multiply. So right now I have 150x equals 2,500. So just to show you, got my good calculator here. Oh, yes, cool. And I will put it with some reflection so you can see my screen. Okay, so 25 times 100, 2,500 right there. Cool. So now I'm able to solve this, and since I'm trying to solve for x, then I'm going to go ahead and just divide both sides by 150, since I want to make sure that I have x by itself. That's going to cancel out my 150 there. And so now I take 2,500, 2,500 divided by 150, and I get 16.66667, okay? So my answer is going to say 16.6667, okay? And let's see how this works, right? 25 is what percent of 150? I recognize that I have, let's say my whole thing is 150. My whole thing is 150. Oh, there we go. 150. And I got to see how much of this thing here would be 25. So I recognize that this here, half of it is 75, yes? Okay, so half of it is 75. And I know that the 25 and 75, that's about a third. So if I look at 50%, 50% would be 75. So this would be 75 at 50% capacity. But I recognize that 25 is a third of 75. So I know that I'm looking at really just this part here, if I was to break it up into thirds. And so that right there would be the 16.67. So I will always provide a visual so that we can see. So my final answer is going to say 25 is 16.67. I'm rounding off to the hundredths place of 150. Okay, right there. Give you a little overview. Now, moving on, again, like always, you can pause, replay my videos. Move on to the next one. My next one, okay. The next question said, what is 45% of 200? Okay, so again, I'm going to annotate. So I know that what is something, 45% and 200. So of 200, this is still my whole right here. This is my percent now. And the missing now is the part. So that's going to be my x. So I'm going to start again with my formula, which is going to say part over whole equals percent over 100. Okay, so now you guessed it, we're going to go ahead and plug in the values that we know. Part is x, so we don't know what that is. 200 is the whole. 45% is right there. And notice that this over 100, I don't have to convert this into anything. It's already in the format I need it. So now again, I am going to cross multiply since I have a fraction over a fraction. And so my new equation is going to say 100x is equal to, there we go, So 200 times 45, 200 times 45, I get 9,000. So that's my equation right there. Now I just got to solve for x. I want 1x, so I need to divide both sides by 100. So I have cancel, 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 cancel. X is equal to 90. So let's see what this is. Let's look at a visual. If this entire little tank here is 200, I know that half of it, 50%, that right here is 100. And if I'm looking for 45%, 45% is going to probably be this right here. And 90 pretty much is that, right? I can also look at it. If 45 is to 100, what is x to 200? So then I just multiply by 2 and it's going to be 90. So again, final answer is 90 is 45% of 200. 90 is 45% of 200. Cool. And moving on to my last question. My last question reads, 40 is 75% of what number? So 40 is 75% of what number? Again, I'm going to go ahead and annotate. So the 40, the 75%, and the what number. So again, 40 is the part. This is my percent. And my what number is now my unknown, but this is now the whole. So I'm comparing against something here. Starting off with my formula. What is my formula, guys? Part over whole equals percent over 100. There's my formula. I'm going to plug in what I know. So my part is 40, so that's going to be right there. I don't know what the whole is, so it's going to be an x. Equals, and then 75 over 100. So again, I have my fraction equals a fraction, so that justifies me using cross multiplication. And so now I'm going to go ahead and see that 4,000 is equal to 75x. Cool. So now I'm going to go ahead and solve for x, which means I need to have just one value of x. So that's why I'm dividing by 75. So on my calculator, I'm going to take 4,000. See if I can put it. There we go. 4,000 divided by 75, and I get 53.333. It's a repeating decimal. So we're going to just, x is equal to 53.33. And we're going to indicate that it's a repeating decimal right there. So if this is telling me that my entire tank is 53.333. So let's see. If I take half of that, I always like to compare against 50% because that's easier to analyze. So 53.33, half of that is 26, this right here, is 26.665. Okay. And if I look at half of that, that's going to give me 25%. And if I know that 26.665 divided by 2 gives me 13.33. So this right here is 13.3325. So if I look at all of that, so I have 26.665. I already know that 13.3325 is 25%. So if I add them together, I should be able to get that 75%. And I do. So 75% up to here, this right here, just this like this, is the 40 that I need. Okay, so what is my final answer going to say? Remember, I always like to have a sentence. So 40 is 75% of 53.33, repeating decimal. Okay, So I hope that I've answered some questions. You can tackle any type of percent analysis question with this little formula. It's just understanding what the unknown will be and then solving for that. Tune in for another video coming right up.